and welcome to Mrs Patnell's Phonics lesson, which will be the first of this week. We are going to be looking at tricky words, and we're going to be looking at words that have consonant sounds next to each other, whether they're at the beginning of a word or the end of a word. Okay, that's what we're going to be looking at today's lesson. The rest of the week we'll be looking at things like words with more than one syllable, with 2 beats to the word, and looking at reading and writing those as well. As we always do, we will start off the lesson with our flashcards. We're going to be looking mainly at phase 3 digraphs and trigraphs and some single sounds. I might throw in a couple of phase 2 single sounds just so we don't forget them. Okay, so our first one on our homemade card is unk. Sh. J. Mm. Ooh. X. Z. Z. The short or the long oo. Qu. Ch. Poke your tongue right out and make the softer like a breeze, and then poke your tongue back just a little bit, but still have it out between your teeth and say the. A. E. I. O. R. Or. Like a church. Ow, as in frown. Oi. Trigraph here. I'm going to pull this one out of my ear. Another trigraph. This is air. Look at the difference between these two. So ear is an ear, and air at the beginning. Okay, so there's difference between those two. And this one can be but usually yeah. If we had our mixing bowl and we were saying mixed yeah, it's the yeah sound. Like the blades of a mixer. Yeah. Done that one already. Ooh. And a couple of phase 2 sounds so we don't forget. G. Ooh. Remember, this is a cursive way of writing the f. So if you don't do cursive in your class, this might look a little strange, but this is the letter F followed by the letter F, and together they make the f sound, usually on the end of a word or the end of a syllable. And let's just do this one because we often get this one mixed up with a d. B. Remember, it's the tall bat first and then the ball. B for bat and b for ball. It's a b. Okay, so that's our flashcards for today. Hopefully you're remembering those the more that you do them. Now we are going to have a little look at the alphabet, okay, because this helps us know the names of words as well as the sounds they make. So we're going to start by singing the song after 3. 1, 2, 3. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABC. Next time, won't you sing with me? Okay, I'm going to ask you, and you call it out to the camera, okay, out to your screens, what the name of the letter is, and also what phonetic sound it makes when you're reading it, okay? So its name and the sound it makes. So I'm looking at my octopus here, and there's a letter next to him. What's the name of this letter, and what sound does it make? Its name is the letter O, and the sound it makes is O. Now let's try this one here with a picture of a violin. There is a letter next to it, a capital letter and a lowercase. They look kind of the same, just one's much bigger. And what sound does it make, and what's its name? Yell it out to the screen. It is the letter called V, and the sound it makes is V. Let's try one further up the alphabet. Let's try this one with a giraffe here, okay? Now, giraffe is making more of a J sound at the beginning, so it's not the greatest picture to have next to it. Maybe if we had a gorilla next to it would be good. So then we've got a letter here, the capital version and the lowercase version. Can you tell me its name and the sound it makes? Its name is the letter G, and the sound it makes is G. G. One more before we finish. I have got an elephant here, the capital version of the letter and the lowercase version. What's its name and what sound does it make? Its name is the letter E, and the sound it makes is E. Okay, so that's some names and sounds again for today. Now I'm going to show you how to read some tricky words. There's a few tricky words that come up in phase 4 of our phonics that we should be able to recognise when we read them in our books. They'll start popping up in your reading books, and you need to be able to just read them. Now, they don't go by the exact phonics rules that I've been teaching you already, so that's why part of them are tricky, okay? So I'm going to show you how to read these words today. Now, one of them we did look at last week, and I'm going to pop it in again to see how you're doing with it. So it is this word here, okay? Now, if you remember with this word, I did tell you that this letter on the end, the letter E, is being a magic E or a magic E, okay? So let's have some magic lines coming out of it. Now, it doesn't make any sound, okay? It's a very quiet magical letter, so it makes no S sound of its own, but it magically turns the I to its name, which is I. Okay, so it magically does that and then stays absolutely silent as well. So you've got to look at the sounds you've got here, okay? This one working with the magic E. So you've got oo, E turning that magically to I, so oo, I, k, like. Like is our tricky word there, okay? Thank you to our magic E. Now, I haven't got my bit of tissue today, so I am going to have to use my sleeve, but like I've said before, don't do this at home because you'll mess up all your clothes. Always make sure you've got something handy to rub it out. Now, this is our next tricky word I'm going to show you and teach you how to read today. Okay, now this one, this sound at the beginning is helping you. It's making that woo sound that we know. But this part here, altogether, I'm going to give a jiggly line because they're being a little bit tricky, okay? We want to blend them with their usual sounds, but we don't, okay? This word reads were, okay? Were. So we've got our w, but then these are making an sound. Were, okay? So they're making an sound. Now, we're not used to seeing the sound like that. Sometimes we see it without that F on the end. That's an sound. But there's an F there, so it's tricky. So you've got to remember when you see this word, this is helping you. But these three together are making an sound on this word to make the word were. Like, we were going to the seaside. So when you see this one and you see the with it, it is were. Okay, let's give that one a run. I want to show you this tricky word now. This one will pop up lots of times in your books, and certainly in the books that your parents read to you. I'm not happy with my R there, so I'm going to write it again. Okay, it is this one here. Now again, parts are helping you and parts are tricking you. So, this digraph with our tongue poking out is helping us. But this one here now, and I'm going to give it the jiggly line, okay? Before on were, it was making an sound. Now on this tricky word, it's making an air sound. And this is not how we're used to seeing the air trigraph, is it? So that's why it's got our jiggly, tricky line. But in this particular word, okay, it's making an air sound. So not all the time, as you can see, because before, just now, it was making an air sound. But here it's tricking us again and making an air sound. So when you see this word, you poke your tongue out for the bit that's helping you. The, air, there, over there. If you point somewhere, it's over there. That's this kind of there. That's how you spell it. So when you see this word, this is making an air sound. It's being tricky. This is helping you. So follow this first. The air, there. Okay, so that word is there, like it's over there. Our next tricky word I want to show you is this one here. Here it is. Lots of ups for my letters there, my lots of ascenders. Okay, so this is helping you, but this is also helping you here, but it's got that et on the end that's doing nothing again. It's having a holiday. There are a few words where the et is having a holiday, and this is one of them, okay? But with everything else helping you, it's not going to be too tricky to read this word, okay? So we've got all, it, t, all on the end, okay? And then the et, no sound. Don't try and blend an et on the end because it won't make sense. So we've got all, it, little, little. It's a little word. It's our common exception word, little. So when you see it, most of it is helping you. So I think when you start to read it, you will start to recognise that word. Just remember, he's on the end, taking a holiday. But that is little. Okay, our next and last tricky word I want to teach you to read today is this one. Now this one is very tricky, okay? It has an O at the beginning rather. It's being extremely tricky. This is helping you, and this isn't really doing any sound at all, to be honest. It's the air taking a holiday again. So this is actually the word for the number 1. But as you can see, there's no w at the beginning at all. It starts with an O. In fact, if we were to blend it, it would be on air, but it's not on air at all. It's the word for the number 1. So it's extremely tricky, this one. Often they're helping you at the beginning, but this word 1 is tricking you from the very, very beginning. So this is making a w sound in this word. This is making its usual but this is taking a holiday really. So 1, okay, 1. It sounds like it should really be written with a w, an and an n. But as it's tricking you, this is how we read the word 1. Blends like one. So if you find yourself blending one, think, oh, it's not one, it is 1. Okay, so that's the final tricky word I wanted to teach you to read today. Okay, so now we're going to look at doing a little bit of buried treasure. So how we play this in my classroom are we have some words that are real words and some words that are nonsense words, they're rubbish words. So we decide if we're going to put the real words in the treasure pots or the rubbish words into the dustbin. Okay, but the most important thing is that we are reading those words and knowing the sounds, the single sounds, the digraphs, and any possible trigraphs. So it's not so important knowing whether it's a real or a rubbish word, it's just important to be able to read it. Okay, so we recognise the sounds, not just that we recognise the word. So, our first one on our golden coin has 4 sounds. Okay, 4 sounds. So I would place my 4 phoneme fingers up, and I would know I'm looking for a sound for every finger. Maybe I would push that finger down when I've recognised that sound, so I know how many more I've got left to go to work out. So my first one is a t. My second one is a r. My middle one here, my digraph, is an a, and the last one is o. Now the t and the r are very close together with their sounds. They almost sound like the same word. So they're going to be the same sound rather. So they're going to be tr, tr, tr for those first 2 together. Trail, trail, real or rubbish, trail. Have you ever heard that word before? I have, like in a treasure trail maybe. So I'm going to put trail into the treasure words there. Okay, let's look at our next one here. So on this coin here, we have 4 sounds again. Now, if you want to pause the video, have a look at this word on the coin without my input first of all, so you can have a go and decide whether it's real or rubbish. Before I go through it with you, then by all means do. It's a good idea. So 4 sounds here again. My first sound is a f, followed by a r. So together they're really close, those 2 consonant sounds. They're kind of making a fr, 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 fr sound. So fr, digraph, a again, and last sound n. Frain, 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 frain. Real or rubbish? Frain, I've never heard of frain, so I'm going to put frain in the dustbin. Okay, next word on our coin. Only 3 sounds this time, okay? So only 3 phoning flicky fingers to put up. My first sound is a t, followed by r. Remember, when they're close together, those consonant sounds, they almost sound like a digraph with one sound. So tr, 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 and then the last digraph on the end, e. So tr, e, tree. Our word is tree. Real or rubbish? Nice, easy one. It's a real word. Into the treasure pot with tree. My next word on my coin has 3 sounds again, so 3 fingers up. Pause the video if you want to have a read of this word without my help. But now we're going to go through it together. First sound, g, followed by r. Now those 2 consonant sounds yet again are really close together. So they're almost making one sound of grr, grr, followed by the digraph on the end of e, grr, e, gree. Gree, real, rubbish. Gree, never heard of it. It goes in the bin. It's a rubbish word. Next coin, 4 sounds again. So I've got 4 phoning flicky fingers. My first sound is s, followed by m. Now they're very close consonant sounds, so they're more of a sm, sm, sm. Then we've got our digraph, e, sm, e, p, sm, e, p, smeep. Smeep, real, rubbish. Well, I almost wish smeep was a real word. It's kind of funny sounding, but it's not. It's rubbish. Smeep goes in the dustbin. And our next word here has 4 sounds, so 4 phoneme flicky fingers. Having trouble saying that this morning. And we have p, followed by r. Put them together, they're making a kind of pr, pr, pr sound. So pr, followed by the digraph a. And last of all, ooh, let's blend them together. Pr-ale. Prail, prail, prail is our word. Real, rubbish, prail. No, never heard of it, so it is rubbish. Into the dustbin. Our dustbin is doing well today. It has more than our treasure pot. Okay, 4 sounds on this coin now. This is our last coin on this lesson. 4 phoning flicky fingers. Our first sound, pause the video if you want to do it without me. But our first sound is s, followed by t. So they're kind of making a st, st, st. Then there is the digraph e as our third sound. St, 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 eep, st, eep, st, eep, steep, steep. Real or rubbish? Steep. I might climb up a steep hill. So steep is a real word. Into the treasure box. There we go. Some excellent buried treasure today. If you got them right, give yourself a pat on the back. Fantastic work. Now, I want to show you a couple of sentences as we near the end of this lesson. I'm going to pop my first one up here. Hopefully you can see that okay there on the video. So this is my sentence number 1. There are some tricky words in it, okay, tricky words that we have been looking at the beginning of this lesson, so keep your eyes out for those, okay. Remember, I've given those a zigzaggy sound cradle, so you can see they're tricky. As you know, not to blend them as you normally would, because they're making different sounds to what we usually know as in our phonics lessons. So, we have got a capital letter at the beginning of our sentence, so that's fantastic punctuation. We've got finger spaces in between. Fabulous. And we've got some punctuation on the end of our sentence, and it's that one that looks like an ear with a dot at the bottom. It's a question mark, so therefore this sentence is a question. It needs an answer to it at the end. So if we have a look at our first word with our capital letter, just the first letters are capital, remember? Not the rest of the word, just that very first letter at the beginning of your sentence. And you notice it has no cursive flicks up to it, my class, okay? It's just a straightforward tall wall with no flicks. So capital letters, no cursive flicks. So this is helping us, but this jiggly line tells us it is tricking us. Now, if you remember this word from the beginning of the lesson, then this jiggly bit here is making an sound, okay? Now, we normally recognise without the F, but this time it has the F, so it's been tricky. But it's making an sound, so word. Here's another one of the tricky words from the beginning of the lesson. We're getting a chance to use them here. Helping us with the digraph, poking your tongue out. And then this time, it's the same as on were, but it's not making an sound now. It's making an air sound. How tricky. So you've got to recognise these words, okay, and recognise they're tricking you and just be able to read them without trying to blend them. So we've got the, air, there, were, there. Bit tricky here as well. This word may appear in your keywords in your book bags, okay? This is helping you. But then the rest of the word is making an sound, okay? That's why it's got a jiggly, tricky line. So some, were there some. This is all helping you, okay? We no longer have our tricky lines here. So we've got our digraph, ch, I, chimps, chimps. Were there some chimps? Nice easy one, 2 sounds. At. We recognise this one, pops up all the time. The. Were there some chimps at the? Nice one with 2 sounds that we know. Z. Now if we tried the short one, let's try to see what that would sound like. So z. Were there some chimps at the z? Doesn't sound right. So it must be the longer oo sound. Z, oo, zoo. So we've used the words around it to check what we think that word should be, and we recognise the short sound won't work, so it must be the longer oo sound. So were there some chimps at the zoo? Question mark on the end. Now I guess we've got to use our imaginations here. We haven't been to the zoo, obviously, but usually there are some chimps at the zoo. So I would say yes, there are some chimps at the zoo. So that's that sentence there. I want to show you this sentence now. I flip that up there. Okay. Okay, so this sentence has, I think you can see that okay on the camera. This sentence has lots of punctuation that you might notice, okay? Capital letter at the beginning, so that's my capital letter Y, which is the Y sound. And then, one of those lines with a dot underneath. An exclamation mark there, okay? And then I've got another capital letter now, because this works as if it was like a full stop or a question mark. It means that my next letter is a new sentence, so I have to start with another capital letter, okay? So when you see this type of punctuation, or a question mark, or a full stop, it means the next letter of the next word must be a capital letter, okay? I have my finger spaces, brilliant, and at the end I have a full stop, okay? So, we have here a very short little bit here we've got to read with our exclamation mark. Now when we see that, it's often that it's a command, like someone's bossing us to do something, or it means we've got to say it a bit excitably. We've got to exclaim it, okay? So we've got 3 sounds. Yuck, yuck, yuck. But we've got to say it like that. Yuck, not just yuck. Yuck. Oh, there's that word again. It appeared at the beginning of the lesson. It was in our sentence just now. Remember, this is tricking you. It's making an air sound. That's why I've got the jiggly sound cradle. So helping you, poke your tongue out. The air. There. Yuck. There. Oh, we know this word. If I was to blend it, was. But we don't say was. We say was. Yuck. There was a... Well, we know all these sounds. Paint. Paint. and r together are making a kind of brr sound. Brr, like imagine you were cold. Brr, brr, brush. Yuck! There was a paintbrush in the coffee cup. Yuck! There was a paintbrush in the coffee cup. Ah, good sentence. Lots going on there. Hopefully you were managing to read that, and maybe you paused it to have a go by yourself before I went through it. So thumbs up to you if you did. Well done. Excellent sentence reading today. Give yourselves a pat on the back for that. Okay, to finish with, I'm going to set you a challenge, and it's a writing challenge that you can do when this lesson is finished. If you're in my class, pop it onto Tapestry so I can see your beautiful sentence writing. If you are not in my class, then show it to your adults and go through it and check which bits are right and which bits might need changing. So this is the sentence I want you to write. Can you write for me today? And it's involving a few of the tricky words, or at least one of the tricky words actually, that we looked at the beginning of the lesson. So you might need to whip back to the beginning of the lesson to have a look at those words, because this is a particularly tricky one in this sentence. So I want you to write, one little brown toad got stuck down a drain. One little brown toad got stuck down a drain. So quite a few words to think of in that sentence, okay? When you're writing it, think how many sounds you can hear by robot talking the word, and put a finger up for every sound you can hear. Remember, those consonant sounds are quite close, so they sound like one, but they are two separate sounds, so don't be tricked by that one. Yes, use your phone and flicky fingers. When you've wrote the sounds, put the finger down so you know how many left you've got to think of in that word. It will really help you, I promise you. Think about those tricky words. Remember how they're spelt. Don't forget to punctuate the end of your sentence and also the beginning. And finger spaces, so your adults or I can read it really beautifully. If you think the whole sentence is quite a big deal, and it is a long sentence, then maybe you could just have a go at writing a couple of the words from the sentence. I would suggest maybe brown or maybe toad. Okay, so try and think of just the sounds you need for brown and toad. If that is a bit tricky because they contain some digraphs in there, then I want you to try and hear the initial sounds, the first sound when you first say the word, what pops out of your mouth at the beginning, the first sound. So when you first say brown, what's the sound you can hear at the beginning of brown? And also with toad. Okay? So try the first sound. Maybe you can hear the last sound as well. So you could do the first sound and the last sound on the word, and maybe your adults can help with the sounds in the middle, okay? So test yourself, challenge yourself, but just pick the one that you know you can work with for now, because I don't want you to get fed up with this. I want you to be enjoying your phonics, okay? So thank you for today's lesson. I will see you again tomorrow for some more phonics with Mrs P. Bye-bye. Take care.